Recording has started.
Excellent. I know we're still going to be some people joining us, but we will get started. All right. Jennifer, can you put the slide back up, or I don't see it?
What? No, the slide's not up right now because we're going to see your face.
Oh, okay. I was going to just go over the stuff that was up for him, but
okay. Then I will reshare. Hang on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't have that written down, so I was like, I want to make sure that we cover all of the housekeeping stuff quickly. Excellent. So welcome to the 2020 Red Clover Book Award Conference. And just housekeeping things. If you please turn your camera off and mute your microphone. Please use the chat for any questions. At the end, we will have a Q&A opportunity. And that if you are calling in or if you want to turn on your mic, then you can do it at that point. And if you are calling in, you can use *6 to mute and unmute. There are live captions available now on Teams, which is this platform that we are using. So, and they update Teams all the time. So at the top of your screen, there should be a menu. It used to be at the bottom, but now it's at the top. So you can see that there's the chat button up there, and then there's 3 little dots that says more actions. Under that, there's some options that you have, one of them being live captions, which is not perfect, but it is something. So you can, and that will just appear just on your screen. So you can use that. And then there is, you can certainly put questions in the chat. But there also is a conference Padlet. The link changed, so I think Jennifer is going to pop that in the chat. So it's different, I think, from what is on the screen on this slide here. But there is a Padlet that you can also put questions into, and we will look at that at the end when we address their questions. Okay, so I think that's all the housekeeping stuff.
Actually on the slide is updated with the right link.
And it is, excellent.
Yeah, I'm still gonna put it in the chat though.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes.
And thanks for all bearing with us for all this the virtual conference stuff. But we are really excited to be here. I want to welcome you. My name is Jonathan Clark. I know that some of you virtually know me. I have met very few people in person yet, unfortunately, because I arrived in Vermont and started this position in March, the beginning of all this craziness. But my name is Jonathan Clark, and I'm the Youth Services Consultant for the Vermont Department of Libraries. And I want to officially welcome you to the 2020 Red Clover Book Award Virtual Conference. And I'm really excited about all of the books. The committee has been doing an amazing work. So I am new to Vermont. I am new to this position, but everything is, the committee is fantastic. And so I am going to give you a little bit of history of Red Clover and a little bit about how the award works. And then we're going to let the committee do their thing, which is why you're all here. So the Red Clover Award Program is a Children's Choice Picture Book Award designed to foster awareness, understanding, and appreciation of the picture book. The award encourages readers to enjoy, explore, and discuss the pictorial narrative and design elements of the picture book. The Red Clover Book Award Program was created in 1995 by Windham County Reads, a nonprofit literacy organization dedicated to bringing families and books together. This Children's Choice Award was designed to help young children experience the unique genius of the picture book and develop a lasting appreciation for the experience in writing and illustration. The program quickly went statewide, and under the leadership of Mother Goose Programs and Vermont Center for the Book over 20 years, the Red Clover Book Award program became a keystone in elementary literacy programming in schools and libraries. The award is currently under the auspices of the Vermont Department of Libraries, and the department is committed to upholding the award's reputation as a brilliant celebration of picture books and the wisdom of children to select the very best. And all students in grades kindergarten through 4th, including those who may be homeschooled, are able to participate in the award program, and children are eligible to vote if they have read or heard read aloud at least 5 of the books from the list. Students will vote for their favorite in the spring of 21. This year, we're expecting that the voting will take place in May. And we know that because of everything going on, the COVID-19 pandemic, things look very different this school year than, ever. So things are changing and different and crazy all the time, literally changing day to day. So we know that of course, is going to affect how you're able to approach the book awards, the Red Clover Book Awards this year, as well as other book awards. With students and teachers participating in hybrid and remote learning, the committee has done its best to keep this in mind when developing the guidebook, which has been shared out and we will discuss later, which includes author videos for each title this year. And you're going to get a preview of some of these awesome author videos. And also outdoor activities that can be done safely, distance outside schools, and also been included. We strongly encourage schools and libraries to purchase the 10 nominated titles, which were published in 2019. Librarians and teachers in Vermont will receive 1 copy of the book from the list, which you should have been able to do when you registered for the conference. Or you can opt to donate your book so that we can get them to a library or school that may not be able to purchase these books. And we will begin the process of ordering and sending out books as soon as the conference. We had people signing up right up till a few minutes ago. So as soon as it's over, we'll begin purchasing the books and begin distributing them. But it's might take a little while. But that we were happy that is one thing that we were able to offer to you this year. And also, some bookstores in Vermont are offering 20% off the nominee titles. And some of that information was shared through email. And if you want any more information about that, please let us know. And also, other local independent bookstores may offer discounts for librarians and educators, so please reach out to them. And that is the basic background of Red Clover. You will notice that a lot of us are wearing red who are going to be presenting today. That is for Red Clover. I had to dig this old red t-shirt out. I realized that I have lots of pink and maroon, but not a lot of red. So that's why you will notice that. And with all that said, then I think we are ready to go over the agenda and introduce the committee. I also want to introduce my colleague from the Department of Libraries, Jennifer Johnson.
Hello.
Who is she's a library advancement assistant for the Department of Libraries and does all of the things and help piece together all of the various pieces of this virtual conference for us today. We're really lucky to have her. And let's see. So Jennifer, do you want to go over the agenda quickly since I've been doing so much talking? I will go over it. So that it's very simple, obviously. So the introduction to the new list and author videos from the committee is what's going to be happening next. And we also have some art connections that MC from the committee is going to present, which are amazing. And then Liz is going to present some amazing writing prompts. And then we'll have a question and answer. And that is it for today. So really simple, get to the meat of it. And again, We are really excited to have all of you, and really the committee has done amazing work. So let's go to the next slide there, Jennifer. Thank you. So let me introduce the committee. We have Wendy Martin, who's from the Vermont Center for the Book, and MC Baker, Fletcher Elementary School and Mater Christie School, Kara Clopton, Allenbrook Elementary School, Hannah Feld, Neshobe School. We have Diane Grenkow, Judavine Memorial Library, Abby Mayer Johnson, Cobley Public Library, Laurel Neem, an author whose recent picture book, The Elephant's New Shoe, was just released on Scholastic, Leaf Perry, Morristown Elementary School, and Lise Zwick, Echo Valley Community School District. So without further ado, we will let the committee go over this year's list.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right, I was having trouble unmuting myself before. I am sorry. I have two screens, but it's not enough to handle it.
It's technology, it happens. We're doing the best we can.
So I am so excited to have the committee introduce this year's nominees. Bear with us as we transition between each book. We did practice, but who knows what will happen in the moment. So I would love for Liz to talk about The Undefeated. Here's the cover right here, and you can also follow along. This presentation, a link to this was emailed to you, so you can follow along while folks are speaking.
Hi all. We knew that when we put this book on the nominee list back in the winter that The Undefeated was a powerful, moving book full of lush, detailed illustrations. Yet we had no idea how important and necessary this book would become in the following months. This book chronicles the triumphs and the deep systematic tragedies of Black history in America, what we should really address as American history, the history that is too often glossed over or forgotten or goes unheard of in our educational system. We encourage you to dive deep and educate yourself about the historical figures presented in this book, and to work with other sympathetic educators in your school to teach this book to elementary students. There are pages that address Black artists.
Excuse me, Liz, let me interrupt for 1 second. If you are not presenting, could you turn your camera off, please? Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Yep. There are pages that address Black artists, athletes, and musicians that are perfect for exploring further with your allied arts or specialist team. We've included additional resources with more information on the work of author Kwame Alexander and illustrator Kadir Nelson, as well as a section for a biography project on Black historical figures. Please take the time when you read and explore this book with your students to do it justice and celebrate its historical importance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz. We're really excited about this one. It's a must read. So we don't have an author video for Kwame Alexander and Kadir Nelson, but in the handbook, you will find a really awesome video of Kwame reading the book out loud. So we definitely recommend checking that out and sharing that with your students. All right, now I would like to invite Abby to present on Hummingbird by Nicola Davis and Jane Ray.
Hello. Let's see. So this is Hummingbird. Hummingbird starts with a girl visiting her granny in a Mexican or Central American location as they watch the hummingbirds in the garden. The story then follows the hummingbirds as they migrate north. As they travel, the landscape and the seasons change. Facts about hummingbirds: are interspersed with the different people and places they pass until eventually we meet the girl and her family back in New York City, where she has just found a tiny bit of hummingbird eggshell on the sidewalk. We end with a surprise package for Granny back in her garden. It is a full circle story, both for the hummingbird's journey and the connection between the girl and her grandmother. There's a note in the end from the author with more information about hummingbirds and flowers, and an index and a bibliography. I just want to show you some of the illustrations quickly. They just exude hummingbirds. There's just these bright reds and greens and purples just jumping off the page. So there's lots of opportunities in this book for connecting with the outdoors with your students. You can make a hummingbird feeder, plant wildflowers, make hummingbird-sized nests, and all of these things are referenced in the handbook. It's just a beautiful book. It gives a mind-boggling view of how far hummingbirds come when they magically appear in Vermont in the summer and how far they have to go. That's Hummingbird.
Thank you so much, Abby. Before we watch part of the video from author Nicola Davis, I'm going to invite Laurel to talk about her experience contacting the authors and acquiring these wonderful videos from them. So Laurel, if you wanted to pop on, and I will unshare my screen here so people can see you, and I will mute myself.
Hi. As an author, probably the most common question I'm asked is what inspired my book? And like Jonathan said, I just recently wrote this one. This was released from Scholastic just last week. And for me as a wildlife expert, I was inspired by the resilience of this baby elephant and also the persistence and never give up attitude of Nick Marks, the rescuer. And I know that when I do school visits, that's the thing that kids just really want to know is the story behind the book. And so many authors have stories like this, and I know them and I know that they love to tell them, which is why I thought it would be really fun to have an introduction of each of the Red Clover books from the author, him or herself. So I put that very same question to each of the authors. What inspired you to write your book? And here are their answers.
Thank you so much, Laurel. And this was a monumental task, getting these from all over the country, and in Nicola Davis's case, the world. She is going to be coming to you from Wales, so that's very exciting. So we thank Laurel for all of her efforts on that. So without further ado, let's get Nicola Davis up. If you are not presenting, could you mute your microphone, please? Thank you very much.
My name's Nicola Davis, and I'm absolutely delighted that this book called Hummingbirds, which I wrote, has been one of the nominees for the Red Clover Book Awards. It has absolutely stunning illustrations. I didn't do the beautiful illustrations. They're done by an artist called Jane Ray. Now, as you can probably hear, I'm not from America. I'm speaking to you from my home in the far west of Wales in the UK, and it's nighttime here, even though it's daytime with you over in the States. We don't have hummingbirds here, I'm sad to say. So I saw my very, very first hummingbirds when I came to America for the first time when I was 18. I actually came to Canada, and I saw my first ruby-throated hummingbird in a cemetery in Toronto, and I was so excited. If I had seen a fairy or a unicorn, I couldn't have been more delighted, because these little birds, as I'm sure you know because you've seen them much more often than I have, are full of magic, absolutely full of life and a kind of delight that's infectious. I had got interested in them because when I was a very little girl, I got taken to the Natural History Museum in London. And in the Natural History Museum, there's a big case of sadly stuffed, dead hummingbirds, but they're still absolutely beautiful. And there's a little tree about this big, and it's covered with all these different kinds of hummingbirds. And I would stare at this exhibit in the museum when I was a little child, at these beautiful little jewel-like birds.
Oh, sorry. Jonathan, I can't see the times on the videos when it's playing. We have a few seconds left at this one. My bad.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, some of these are a little bit longer, and all the content is really great. But some of them are going to just give you a little snippet of them. Oh, now I can't hear the audio.
Yeah, I think that's our cue for that one. So
yeah, that's all right. Yeah, that's totally fine.
All of the videos are available in a playlist on YouTube that was linked in the email I sent you, and it's also on our website. So this is the first time trying to share videos like this virtually, so we will make it work. So that was Nicola Davis from Wales. We really hope your kids will like these.
They're really
I
great.
know that when I was a kid, I really enjoyed seeing authors speak. And these videos are made just for them, and you can tell them that these are made just for our Vermont kiddos. So, all right, I am going to move on to the next book, which is Planting Stories, The Life of Librarian and Storyteller Pura Belpré by Annika Aldemui Denise and Paula Escobar. And I am going to invite Leaf to talk about this.
Hello. This nonfiction book follows Pura Belpré's journey to New York City from Puerto Rico and how she had such a profound impact by sharing Latin culture with New York City public libraries to serve the local people while honoring their and her heritage. She planted seeds of stories from her childhood during story time, even though there weren't Spanish language stories on the shelves in the library. She made it happen through storytelling and puppetry, and sometimes by even publishing her own books. She made some of the puppets herself. She had a special story candle. And this is when her first book was published. She helped to modernize what it means to make the library feel welcome to all users. We follow Pura through many moments in her life, including as a garment worker, the first bilingual assistant in Harlem, in the New York City Public Library system, an author, a wife, and more. There are so many connections and extensions that you can do with this book, Planting Stories. Of course, you can make puppets or show puppets with your students, right? Simple ones, even something easy to do from home or virtually. Within the handbook, there are translations for the Spanish words and sentences within the text. It's really fitting that it's a bilingual type of text because that's what she had promoted. So you'll be able to figure out the meanings from context clues in the sentence, but also we do have the cheat sheet in the handbook so that you can look them up easily. Brush up your pronunciation skills for Spanish and plant this story with your readers. Have fun seeing where it takes you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leaf. That was great. All right, so I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to hear from Annika. She made a video for us. And there we go. Nope, I am sharing my email, I think. Stand by.
No, we were seeing it.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, we were seeing the slide
okay.
for a second, so. I know when you're presenting, you can't see all of the things, so.
Okay, so now it's not showing up on my second screen, but let me click and try to get
it's definitely
into it here.
Oh, technology.
Yeah, this is This is not what happened before, so I'm a little confused here. All right, let's see if it will play. Okay. So now you see the whole presentation. let's do it now. Okay. It works here. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, let's go. Oh wait, I don't think I'm sharing the audio.
So many things.
My apologies, everybody. All right.
Hi, I'm Anika Lamoy Denise, and I'm the author of the book Planting Stories, The Life of Librarian and Storyteller Pura del Prey. I wrote this book because I wanted young readers to know the story of a brilliant Puerto Rican woman who became the first Latina librarian at the New York Public Library. I think some of you might recognize her name because there's a book award named after her, but maybe you didn't know why the award was named for her and what she accomplished as a public librarian, storyteller, and puppeteer. Pura del Prey is like a madrina, godmother of Latino children's literature. She wrote the first Latino storybooks published in the United States, and she was one of the first to host bilingual story times with puppets at the library. Because this book is a true story, I had to do research to find out more about her life. I went to the New York Public Library and to the library archives at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies to learn more about her life. Then I had to decide what information to put in the book and what to leave out, which was tricky. It was hard work, but I think it turned out really well. It even received a Pura del Prey Author Honor Award, which was so cool for the book to get an award named after its subject. My favorite passage in the book is the very last page, which says, "The seeds she has planted, the roots that grew shoots into the open air of possibility have become a lush landscape into which she steps as though she has never left." I love how the illustrator Paula Escobar brought the metaphor of seeds and planting a story garden into the illustrations. After you read Planting Stories, I hope you see how important it is for kids, all kids, to find books that reflect them and mirror their culture and identity, but also how important it is to read books that are windows into other people's cultures and backgrounds too. You're so lucky to have all kinds of books to choose from. When I was a kid, I didn't have as many diverse reading choices as you do now, but I still loved to read. My favorite books had really playful and poetic language like Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends and Runny Babbitt. I also liked chapter books where kids solved mysteries, like in the book From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler, where two kids run away and secretly stay over at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I hope you're discovering a bunch of new favorites too on this year's Red Clover reading list. And thank you for choosing Planting Stories to be among them. Enjoy, happy reading, and gracias!
So she is like the most adorable person ever. So I think your kids will like seeing that. We are going to move on to the next book, which is It Began with a Page, How Gyo Fujikawa Drew the Way by Hio McClear and Julie Morstad. And I'm going to invite Hannah to share this book with us.
Hi, everybody. I am a sucker for a picture book biography, a narrative that can give you a glimpse of the true story of someone's life previously unknown to you is both a wonderful learning experience and a powerful teaching tool. This book captured me from the very beginning, especially because it evoked fond childhood memories of those sweet little babies in her first couple books, Babies and Baby Animals. The way that the illustrator, Julie Morstad, evokes Fujikawa's style is powerful, and the story of her life is surprising and enlightening. As readers of picture books, we need to know about Gyo Fujikawa. who pushed for change and made picture books better for and more representative of everyone. Her life also spans important historical moments, from Japanese internment through the civil rights movement. So this book provides an important opportunity to delve deeper into these topics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hannah. So I'm going to share our PowerPoint again. So this was the only other book that we could not get an author video for, but Kyo did send us a nice message that she was so thrilled that her book was nominated, and there are some other resources available for this book. All right, let's move on to the next title, which is Fry Bread, a Native American Family Story by Kevin Noble Maillard and Juana Martinez Neal. And I'm going to invite Kira to talk to us about this book.
Good morning, y'all. So glad that we're here together to talk about this wonderful, warm, and beautiful book that our committee found and absolutely wanted to wrap our arms around. Fry Bread is a delicious story with beautiful illustrations. It talks about something tasty that you can make with your students if you choose to, or even if your kids are remote, you can say, I bet you have some flour, some water, some salt, maybe some yeast, some cornmeal, or you could certainly pretend and stir those in a bowl and think about the over 640, which are listed in the end pages, Native American tribes all across our land that get together and make fry bread and have been doing that for generations. Fry bread, just like people, comes in all shapes and colors and sizes. What I love about this story is it's showing a modern Native American family, complete with, and my kindergartners noticed this yesterday, look, the mom's got ink. I said, you got it. Yeah, exactly. This is a modern story with real people sharing something that brings us all together, which is food. It's about comfort. It's about nourishment. It's about strength. It's about taking things that are right around you that can fill you with something that makes your heart feel great, even in situations that are difficult. And they go into this book about stolen land and what that means. So a book that can have some difficult conversations can also pull you right through and think about what brings people together and what it means to really survive across time. I think this is a book that your kids will enjoy. It's definitely one that my kinders thought was pretty cool this week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kara. So we did get a video from Kevin, and you will also meet his son, Hampton. So let me.
Hi, my Vermont friends. I'm so excited to have Fry Bread be one of the finalists for the Red Clover Book Award. Next to my home state of Oklahoma, Vermont is my favorite state in all of America because I spent my entire summer there this summer, and I am so excited to have my book be represented and seen by all of the kids and teachers and librarians of your state. Let's also recognize our fantastic illustrator that gave us all this great art from Fry Bread, Juana Martinez Neal. I'm here with my son, Hampton.
And my son, Samuel, Chestnut and Frosty. So we will be interviewing my dad. Voila! What made you decide to write a book for kids?
Well, I wanted to write a book when you were a baby. Yeah, I wanted to write a book when you were a baby because I wanted a book with characters with people that look like us.
Where did Fry Bread come from?
First people to make fry bread were the Navajo.
Oh, right.
Lands were stolen from them.
That's why he calls them the stolen lands.
The stolen lands. And they had to move to new lands. And then when they were in this new place, they had to make new food because they didn't have all the food that they were used to.
How long does it take to make fry bread?
Well, frosting. It takes me a couple hours to make it. Some people might be able to make it more quickly or quicker, but it takes me probably about 4 hours to make it.
Tell us about the dog and the cat and the fry bread. The book Fry Bread.
This was our dog, Booty. Remember Booty?
Yeah.
Booty is not with us anymore. Juana, our illustrator, put Booty in the book. She went through my Instagram account and saw that I had a dog, and then so she put the dog in the pages. She also put her own cat in the book on some other pages. All right? Hampton, who's that?
Me!
Look at this.
I would say, wow.
I'm really excited to have a lot of my friends and neighbors join me in the making of this video. I'm always really glad to have other people join in with me because that's everything what fry bread is about. It's about making something that you like with people that you love.
So that was fry bread. Hampton is one of my new favorite people. So our next title is Sea Bear, A Journey for Survival by Lindsay Moore, and I am going to invite Abby to talk about this with us.
Okay, so Sea Bear, I think this was the first book that got the most votes from the Red Clover Committee. I think this was the first one that we all agreed on, so I think you'll see why. Sea Bear is told in the voice of a polar bear, and here she is. We see her patience and strength as she finds food and the ice gets thinner throughout the summer. We see seals, sharks, narwhals, walruses, and a whale as the bear paddles and paddles and paddles in her search for food. The text is spare, and the illustrations are rich in blues. You feel surrounded by the ocean, the sky, ice, and quiet, and the vast distance that the polar bears must swim. Though climate change is not mentioned specifically in the story, in the back matter the author does talk about it, and we get a feel in the story for how it will affect the bear and her cubs. As the polar bear says in the end, polar bears are patient beasts, as patient as glaciers. We know how to hope and how to wait. So that is Sea Bear. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. And we do have a video from Lindsay Moore, so I'm going to share that now.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Moore, and I'm the author and illustrator of the book Sea Bear. A few years ago, I learned that polar bears could make these long-distance swims in the Arctic. And that spoke to me as a person because I used to swim in school. I swam long-distance swimming events, and it made me wonder things about them. Knowing that swimming is hard, how were they able to swim in cold water? Like, what made them able to swim long distances for days without stopping? And all these questions led to more research and more questions. And I think the thing about being an author, a writer, an illustrator is that you find a lot of wonder in the world. And when you start finding things that interest you and they lead to more questions, you realize that you're on the track to finding a story. And so with Sea Bear, writing Sea Bear was just really collecting all that I could learn about polar bears and putting it into a story that I felt like would speak to you as my readers about what it's like to be a polar bear in the Arctic. Their life is fascinating. They endure incredibly cold temperatures, long periods of dark, and they are resilient. They are strong creatures. There are things that are happening in our world that are making it harder for them to be polar bears, harder for them to find food, harder for them to find places to stand. But they're also showing that they are not giving up. They're incredibly resilient. They're incredibly strong. And so this sea bear is about for polar bears in the Arctic, and just kind of my love for the wonder and wildness of the polar landscapes.
All right, so that was Sea Bear. So I'm going to move on to our next title, which is Lion of the Sky. Whoops. Lion of the Sky, Haiku for All Seasons by Laura Purdy Salas and Mercedes Lopez. And I'm going to invite Kira to talk to us about this.
Well, just speaking for myself, I've not always been a huge fan of poetry. So when I had to select a poetry book with my committee members, I thought, gosh, this is going to be hard for me. Boy, was I wrong. Lion of the Sky, shabam. This, I think, was the second book that I picked after Sea Bear. It's a firecracker of a book, not just because the poems are good, but because there's riddles in there too. Now, I really like a good joke. And this is a poetry book that your kinders all the way through 4th grade are going to be really engaged in. There's a guessing game feature to it. I used this book with kids that I had during summer school, and they were actually trying to get, with their masks on, closer and closer and closer and closer to the book, and they were shouting out the answers as we go. Let me give you a little taste. There are, all 4 seasons are represented, and there's 6 different poems, and they're like riddle poems. So you read the haiku, and then the kids try to guess what it is. Recommendation: don't show the picture first, because oftentimes Mercedes' illustrations are so glorious that it gives it away. It's also super fun after you've read this book for kids to create their own and think about an object from their house, perhaps a pencil or their bedspread or something interesting that they could think of, even maybe their face mask that they wanted to write a riddle cool about. Okay, here's one. See what you think. Colorful flowers, we sprout on stems of people, bloom only in rain. Did you guess it? Here's the picture. Ding, ding, ding. Umbrella. See what I mean? Here's another one. Different season. This is probably my favorite. Fire in our bellies. We flicker flash in twilight. Rich meadow of stars. Oh yeah. Fireflies. I adore Lion of the Sky. I think your kids will too. Thanks.
Thank you, Kira. And we do have a video from Laura Purdy Salas. I'm going to pull that up for us.
Hi. My name is Laura Purdy Salas, and I'm the author of Lion of the Sky, Haiku for All Seasons, illustrated by Mercedes Lopez. I am so excited that this book is a Vermont Red Clover nominee. Thank you. I wrote this book because it mixes up 3 of my favorite things: poetry and riddles and wordplay, and the 4 seasons, which I love. I grew up in Florida, which doesn't really have 4 distinct seasons. And now that I live up north, I love celebrating all 4 seasons. Most of the time my writing is done mostly on my laptop, but for Lion of the Sky, I actually wrote a ton of it in this little notebook where I brainstormed topic possibilities for each season. I wrote myself notes about what I needed to focus on. I did word banks, and then I even did drafts of the haiku. So I wrote a lot of it in that little notebook. The hardest thing about writing this book was trying to give enough clues that a reader might guess the answer even without seeing Merce's beautiful art. So I'm going to share one with you. I'll leave you with it and see if you can guess the answer even before you read the book. It's in the winter section of the book, and here it is.
Uh-oh. Stand by. Let's see what's going on here.
Uh-oh. That doesn't look good.
We are knitted twins, soft as kittens, warm as hugs, waiting to hold hands. I hope you can figure out the answer from just those words, but if not, you'll see the answer in the book. Thanks so much.
All right, I'm not sure what happened there. Hopefully it won't happen again. We are going to move on. Oops. All right, our next title is Small in the City by Sydney Smith, and I'm going to invite Diane to talk to us about this title.
Hello. This is Small in the City by Sydney Smith. It's a quiet book with a quiet message given by a quiet child. It takes place over the course of one day in a city, maybe Toronto, where the author and the illustrator used to live. It is wintertime, and the child makes its way by bus and on foot, first in sunshine, then a light snow begins to fall, until finally it's a full snowstorm and evening is coming. The child makes its way around the city, giving advice to an unseen friend. The city is busy and overwhelming with towering buildings and traffic, but this child knows how to navigate it all. There are places in the city where you can get warm. There are places you can go to get warm, and there are places you can go to hear music. There are good shortcuts and not so good shortcuts. You should watch out for angry dogs. There's a good tree to climb. A dryer vent might be a good place for a nap. This is a beautiful, soft book full of longing for a missing family member, one smaller than even the child. This doesn't wrap up neatly with the missing one returned, but instead leaves you still wondering and hopeful and wishing that home will be the most enticing place of all. And here's one of the very last. Thanks.
Thank you, Diane. So this was supposed to be when we ended this. Obviously, we're not going to stop here. So we'll be running a little behind today, but technical difficulties will do that to you. So we do have a video for Small in the City, so I'm going to share that now.
Hi, I'm Sydney Smith, and I'm an author and illustrator of picture books. This picture book, for example, Small in the City. Small in the City is a book about a small person walking through the city, talking about what it's like to be small in the city. I wrote this book when I was living in Toronto. Toronto is a big, big city in Canada, and it's home to over 6 million people, and I was one of them. In the city of Toronto, there's lots and lots of big buildings, lots of traffic and people, but what's unique to Toronto is that they have these streetcars. So I wanted it to be, I wanted Toronto to be in this book because that was my home. And even more so, I wanted my neighborhood in Toronto to be part of this book. So I put the alleyways that are in my neighborhood. And I put the dogs that were across the street always barking. I put the black walnut tree that was behind my house in the book. And not far from my house, there was a park with park benches and lampposts. It was very important for me to feature my own neighborhood in this book because now that I don't live there anymore, I live in the East Coast of Canada, I'm able to look at this book and remember my own neighborhood, remember all of the different things about the city, and feel the excitement I felt when I was living there. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about my book, Small in the City. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
All right, that was our Canadian author. I think he's our only Canadian author on the list.
Keogh McClear is Canadian too.
Oh, Keogh McClear is Canadian too. Okay, one of two Canadian authors on our list. So we were really excited to get a video from Sydney. All right, let's move on to our next title. Full disclosure, this is my favorite title on the list. I'm not voting, so it doesn't mean anything really, but this is my favorite. So it is Crab Cake, Turning the Tide Together by Andrea Sarumi, and Hannah is going to share about this book.
It's a good thing that JJ was so vocal about how much you loved Crab Cake, because it took me a long time to come around to this book. The first time I read it, I was put off by the strange combination of underwater creatures and baked goods. But I also have a young child at home, and he asked me to read it and then read it again and again and again. And as we read it, I noticed the sweet details in the illustrations, like the young hermit crab who has no shell, whose mother is saying, well, where did you leave it? And ultimately, thanks to that and the fun alliteration in the story, as well as the strong and important messaging, I came to truly adore this book. From the comic style that uses a really drastic change in the way that they use color. Andrea Sarumi uses color as the mood of the story changes, to the whole crew overcoming their problems with trash together. This is a joyful and important book that gives an opportunity to talk about the importance of our oceans. It's also important that you check out Andrea Sarumi's blog post that she made about her inspiration for this book, which is linked in the handbook, because I think it gives a lot of context that can help you teach this book effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. All right, we do have the video from Andrea, and this one is a little bit long, and I can't see the times where to end it, so I will use my judgment. All right, let's see.
Hi, my name is Andrea Sarumi, and I'm an author, an illustrator, and a cartoonist. And I made Crab Cake, which I'm really happy that you guys are reading. So the story behind Crab Cake, why did I make Crab Cake? There are two answers to that. The first answer is, and I will show you a quick picture of this, is that I was drawing a lot of pictures of a crab chef or a crab baker in my sketchbook. And I didn't really know, I was drawing for fun. I had no idea where this would go, but I just thought, hey, this might be a really fun idea. And I also, at the same time, had this other idea in my head that I really wanted to make a book about disaster. Just because it was something that was on my mind. It was something that has mattered a lot to me and still matters a lot to me, about how people respond to disaster, to problems that are bigger than ordinary accidents, to problems that are not caused by yourself, that are caused by other factors or other people, and what happens when that happens, basically. What do people do? So I combined those ideas. So it's about a crab who bakes cakes, because I wanted to draw a crab who bakes cakes, okay? And it's about disasters because it's something that I care about. And I think some of the best ideas for books, at least in my experience, are ideas that mattered a lot to me when I was a kid too.
So that was Andrea Sarumi talking about Crab Cake, and again, all of these videos are available to you at any time on YouTube, so you can go and check out the whole thing. All right, we've made it to our last nominee of 2020 and 2021, and that That is Sweetie by Andrea Zool, and I am going to invite Liz to share this book with us.
So JJ mentioned crab cake as her favorite. This is another favorite of the committee because who doesn't love the story of a quirky outsider in the tradition of Tacky the penguin? Sweetie, the naked mole rat who rocks a yellow polka dot dress and headgear, is one such oddball. She has a warrior princess doll that loves chocolate beet cake, is obsessed with fungi and Deb's perfect single hair, and expresses her book reports through interpretive dance. With a little encouragement from her equally quirky Aunt Ruth, Sweetie learns how to embrace her true self and find a kindred spirit. This is a great book for science connections, whether it is identifying fungi on a walk outside or researching the life and behaviors of naked mole rats. It's also great for social emotional connections, showcasing themes of being true to yourself and making new friends, while also allowing students to have conversations with staff and adult family members about quirky hobbies and awkward times they went through when they were young. The illustrations really exhibit the title character's awkward charm, making readers realize they should embrace their inner Sweetie and what makes them truly unique. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Sweetie is a gem. I think your kids will really like it. So we do have a video from Andrea Zool, and I'm going to play that now.
My name is Andrea Zool, and I wrote the book Sweet. It's about a naked it's a naked mole rat that is a little bit awkward. And I first came up with the idea for this book because me and my daughter had visited the San Diego Safari Park, and they had a display that had naked mole rats. And I don't know if you've ever seen one, but this is what they look like. And they're a very odd looking animal. And all I could think is, oh, they are very awkward. Awkward looking in their little eyes and their big teeth, and they don't have any fur. I'm assuming that they would probably be a little cuter if they had fur on them. So my daughter said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you did a book about naked mole rats? Now, people actually say that to me a lot, not about naked mole rats, but about different animals. And so, but for some reason, when she said that, I pictured all of a sudden this naked mole rat with really thick glasses and then braces on her teeth, because their teeth are pretty prominent. In fact, a little fact with naked mole rats, their teeth, those two long teeth, aren't inside their mouths, they're underneath their nose. It's they're made that way so they can close their mouth while they dig. And they use those two front teeth to dig. They close their, to dig. They close their mouth and they don't get a mouthful of dirt. But anyways, so when my daughter mentioned that, all I could picture is these thick glasses. And you can see Sweetie right there. She has her thick glasses and she has her braces. And then I thought, what would it be like if you were awkward even for a naked mole rat compared to all other naked mole rats that you came in contact to? So that's where I kind of started with that book.
All right, and she goes on to say that as a child, she identified with Sweetie very much, being kind of on the outside, but that as an adult, she has found her people, like hopefully we all will when we reach adulthood. All right, so those are your 10 2020-2021 Red Clover Book Award nominees. Have fun sharing them with your kids, and we'll look forward to seeing what our kids pick in the spring of 2021. All right, now we're going to move on to a portion of the presentation about the honor books. So these are books that received nominations from the committee to be on the final list, but were not selected in the end. However, we still love them, so we wanted to give them a shout out. So there's a handout on the website, and I also emailed it with all of the books that received a nomination from the committee. But we are only presenting a selection today, and committee members are going to share these with you. So our first book is Stormy, a story about finding a forever home by Guo Jing, and Abby's going to talk to us about Stormy.
Okay, so this Stormy. Stormy is a wordless book told through a sort of graphic novel format with panels. It is heartwarming, it is tear-jerking, and it has a happy, cozy ending. A young woman finds a small, fuzzy dog alone in the park and gradually earns the dog's trust. A scary thunderstorm brings the woman out in the rain to look for the puppy who has already followed her home without her knowledge and waits for her in a box to come home. The book uses, like I said, the graphic novel format, and the panels really move the story forward. It has just these gorgeous full-page spreads too, and the illustrations just glow with light. Even if you don't love dogs, you might get choked up by this story. But if you do love dogs, watch out for this one. This is it's gonna get you. So that's Stormy. Thank you.
And Stormy received the most nominations for a book that did not end up making the list. We love Stormy. So let's see. Our next book is Poco and the Drum by Matthew Forsythe, and Kara is going to present to us about this book.
Poco and the Drum makes me laugh so hard. My daughter, we've read this, I think, 5 times, and every time it's completely hilarious. And I think it's because these frogs right here have such limited expression for what happens in this story. Poco is a little girl frog, and she lives with her father, who's a bit of a home chef, and her mother, who likes to read all the time. They're quiet little introvert frogs living in the quiet little mushroom. Poco is a noisemaker who is sent outside with her most recent family present to make some noise. And as she does, some other little forest followers join her. And a gigantically fabulous surprise that will make you ha ha ha. I'm just thinking about it. Happens, and then a few wondrous things happen right after that. It's a very quick little book, but it will go right into your funny bone. Don't miss Poco and the Drum. I also have the next book that's rolling along, if you want to go to the next slide, and it's called A Stone Sat Still. Is that okay, Jennifer? And
yes, A Stone Sat Still by Brendan Wenzel, and take it away.
Going along, great. The next book that got lots and lots of votes is a very different book from Poco. This is a quiet book by Brendan Wenzel, and I love his stories because he is the master of perspective. Perhaps you've read They All Saw a Cat, or you've read Hello, Hello. He takes something simple, a gigantic rock, and looks at that rock from all different creatures' perspectives. It's also, if you're really excited about using adjectives with your kids and then thinking about contrasts between the two, every page is going forth from different kinds of creatures. So you have wild, this is home. You may have Daniel.
Kara, excuse me. Sorry, if you are presenting, can you turn your camera off and mute your microphone? Somebody still has their mic unmuted and camera on. If you can turn it off. Okay, we got a microphone muted. All right, I guess, Trevor, can you turn your camera off? Oops. All right, we'll let him work on that. Kara, you want to keep going? Sorry.
Sure, it's great. So, and then there's also this echoed phrase again and again in A Stone Sat Still, where he says, And it was as it was, where it was in the world, which is just, there's some beautiful alliteration with that. And it's a beautiful stillness and calm as you think about how stones and rocks and pebbles travel with us with constancy throughout the ages. I love this glorious story, and our committee loved it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. All right. Our next book is Pluto Gets the Call. This is another favorite of mine because I love Adam Rex so much. He is amazing. So this is Pluto Gets the Call by Adam Rex, and our last year's winning author, Lori Keller. So I'm going to invite Abby to share Pluto Gets the Call with us.
When Pluto gets the call from scientists on Earth telling him he is no longer a planet, he is heartbroken. He loves being a planet, but he takes us on a tour of the solar system anyway to meet some real planets. The hilarious dialogue between Pluto and the rest of the solar system sneaks in lots of facts while everyone tries to make Pluto feel better and understand that he is now everyone's favorite underdog. We have a great spread with the sun. He finally comes to the sun, who makes him feel better. You could expect smart and silly brilliance from this duo of Adam Rex and Lori Keller. And I imagine that your kids will be repeating lines from this one. This is a really, really fun read aloud. Pluto Gets the Call. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. All right, our next title is The Rhythm of the Rain by Graham Baker Smith. And Leaf is going to talk to us about this book.
Hi. There are times that we dread rain, like maybe today, if you had to get in your car to go to school to attend this conference. But this book shows us many ways to appreciate it, from the shimmery raindrops on the dust jacket, which you can't really appreciate with my shiny Mylar cover, but if you have the original, or if you catch the light just right, you can see it's kind of like glitter, on to the vibrant and lush illustrations inside the book. Let it linger for a moment. And here's Isaac, the little boy that's in the story. Even though the illustrations are made digitally, they did such a wonderful job with it and making it look like watercolors. In this story, a young boy named Isaac is playing at the base of a waterfall and empties his jar of water into the pool. He follows the water down the stream into the river and all the way to the ocean, sometimes in his sailboat. Isaac's journey ends there for the most part, but then the journey doesn't end. The water keeps traveling, and it shows us all these beautiful places where water can travel that he couldn't follow. So it's realistic in that sense. The clouds release their gift of water. They fill the pool where a little girl is playing. The water travels on most exciting ways, including coming into contact with squids, icebergs, and far-off countries. It's a gem of a book that subtly teaches us the water cycle. And satisfyingly, it ends with the water flowing back to Isaac as he plays in his favorite pool yet again. And there he is. So, thank you.
Thank you, Leaf. All right, moving on to our next title, which is This Is Not That Kind of Book by Christopher Healy, illustrated by Ben Mantle. And Hannah's going to talk to us about this book.
All right. This story starts over and over again while new characters are introduced on each page turn. At first you think that it's an alphabet book, and then it shifts to a fairy tale, to a sci-fi story, to a superhero story, to an animal in clothes learns a lesson story, and each time shifting genres. One of the characters, this one here, gets very upset that the story isn't going quite how they expect it to, and then all of the characters work together to discover what type of story precisely this actually is. It is funny. It has lovely messages about friendship that are good for social emotional learning, and it's a great opportunity for teaching about genre and types of books. One caveat is that you have to enjoy reading aloud speech bubbles from multiple to enjoy reading this book out loud, but it's a really fun and wonderful teaching tool.
Thank you, Hannah. All right, our next book is Unicorns 101 by Cale Atkinson. I'll let you digest that cover for a second. And Liz is going to talk to us about this book.
Hi, I don't actually have the book with me, but as you can see from the cover, if you picture bright neon colors and lots of rainbows, you'll get a general sense for what it's like. Several of my students are always asking about books with unicorns, mermaids, and other mythological creatures. And almost all my students love funny books, especially if they take a mockingly serious tone. The book Unicorns 101 embraces both those loves. It utilizes the structure and features of a scientific nonfiction book, but is full of nonsense information about unicorns by professors with highly academic names like Glitterpants and Sugarbeard. It is a great way to teach some of the features of nonfiction text in a fun, silly way that will be more accessible to many children. In 2020, you and your students may need a break from the seriousness of the real world, and this book provides it with plenty of chuckles.
Thank you, Liz. And I know this was a super favorite of yours, so I'm glad we got to share this one. Yes. All right, move on to our next title, which is The Proudest Blue, a story of hijab and family. I should have practiced that one before. Miss Muhammad, S.K. Ali, say it again. Ibtihaj Muhammad, S.K. Ali, and Hatem Ali. Thank you, Hannah, for that help there. And Hannah's going to talk to us about this book.
All right. So this is a book that's about being proud to be yourself. And it's an important book because there are so few picture books that feature characters wearing hijab. Told from the perspective of a younger sister on the first day that her older sister is wearing hijab to school, we watch the younger sister struggle a little bit as she hears other children whisper about or tease her big sister, and then she replays in her mind words from her mother to fortify herself. It's written by Ibtihaj Muhammad, who was the first female Muslim American Olympic medalist who competed wearing hijab. And it's illustrated by Hatem Ali, who illuminated The Inquisitor's Tale, which was on the middle grade book award list a few years ago. I personally believe that representation matters and that this book should be in every library.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you again for that pronunciation lesson there. All right, so we have 2 more books to go. Our next title is Samuel Morse, That's Who, The Story of the Telegraph and Morse Code by Tracy Nelson Moore, illustrated by Il Primo Ramon. And Lisa's going to talk to us about this book.
Hi. This book is one of the books that reminds me, when we don't get our books processed, how nice it is to be able to see what's underneath the dust jacket. You know, I'm always peeking underneath, and being on the committee, I've been doing that a lot because the books aren't processed usually that we review, which is nice. And my kids are getting used to seeing me show them extra things. This one has a different kind of treat. On the back of the dust jacket is actually the Morse code alphabet. So you wouldn't normally think to see it there, but there is a note on the cover that will alert you to that. But just if you haven't been used to it, make sure you take a peek underneath the dust jacket sometimes, because sometimes the jacket covers are different. Samuel Morse came up with the earliest form of instant messaging using telegraphs and Morse code before telephones existed, and shortly after electricity came on the scene. This book shows us that he wasn't just an inventor, but started out as an artist. It was while he was sailing back across the Atlantic to America in 1832 that he hatched the idea of the telegraph. He then painstakingly created the Morse code to share messages that wouldn't be hampered by weather or daylight. It wasn't smooth sailing, but he persevered, finding success 12 years later. By 1861, he put the Pony Express out to pasture. The back matter provides a useful timeline and extra information. And also, it lets you know that there's actually a Morse code day on January 11th. Have kids write their first name, like I did, in Morse code, maybe make a bracelet or a bookmark. What I think we're going to do is make school color spirit bracelets using our school letters, MES, and all sorts of things could be happening with this book. So it could be a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. All right, we've reached our last honor book that we're going to talk about today. And that is Big Boys Cry by Jonty Howley. And Diane's going to talk to us about this book.
So this is one of my favorite books lately, and I have pushed it on a lot of people. Now I'm going to push it on you guys, and I have read it enough times now that I can get through it without getting a little teary myself. So that's good. Big Boys Cry by Jonty Howley is a visual treat as well as a sweet story. Young Levi is off to his first day of school in a seaside town. He's scared, and his papa, unsure how to help, tells Levi that big boys don't cry. Levi starts out on his walk to school, sees evidence to the contrary. A fisherman setting off on a long trip cries while hugging his children goodbye. A man playing the harp cries while lost in music and memories. New parents holding a baby cry. A rich man who loses his watch to a seagull cries. There are so many big boys crying everywhere. And here's some of the illustrations. Levi sheds a tear too. When he gets to school, he finds out it's not so bad after all. On the walk home, we get to see all those people who were crying earlier are feeling much better. Levi arrives home, and now who has tears in his eyes? It's Papa. Papa does. Papa tells Levi that he was scared for him on his first day of school, and he didn't know what to say. Levi tells Papa that, in fact, big boys do cry, and it's okay. That's this book. Thanks.
Thank you, Diane. All right, and again, the full list of our honor books is available on our website if you would like to check those out. All right, now it's time for Miss MC Baker to present some art connections for us. And to save us from going back and forth with the slides, I can just present which book it is. So it began with the page. No, sorry, Sweetie. Why don't you tell us which one you're going to do first?
I'm going to do Sweetie.
Okay.
So I loved Sweetie. She was such a unique and individual character. And I wanted to create a unique and individual project that could be really personalized for our students. And I've actually at Monte Cristi, we actually started out with this book. And I've done a whole unit around this project. It is a favorite of mine because it really does not cost a lot to do, and which is always fantastic for librarians, in particular art teachers. So using recycled materials like cardboard that I just went to my hardware store or Costco and just got extra cardboard. I gave students piles of cardboard and let them kind of create their own unique individual characters. So it turned into things like creating a gerbil house in one case, like his little gerbil. It came into things like creating a giraffe, which is a really low relief sculpture here. But in the art room, I talked about sculpture and three-dimensional sculpture and how that looks. And it's wonderful to see how unique and amazing the kids can be in building with, this is a little turtle here with gems, of course, because this person is just amazing. Things like a little lizard. So you can let kids be their creative selves by, this is a dog portrait, peeling and cutting and ripping cardboard into these unique sculptures that really does not cost that much money. I did use hot glue just because I'm impatient, but I use a low heat hot glue. If you're in a library with a lot of children, you might choose to use something like wood glue or tacky glue. That's always a good option. And it does stick, and it's relatively inexpensive. And so we are having a ball at Monte Cristi doing this project, starting off our year. JJ, the next project I want to talk about has to do with like Lion of the Sky. Is that okay?
Yes, sorry, go ahead. I was dealing with a little tech issue here. Please continue.
Lion of the Sky was one of my favorites. I love its illustrations. I love the riddles, and I love the seasons. And you know, a good poetry book is fantastic. So this is a project that I think kids would find hours of enjoyment with. And it's relatively easy. You take one square piece of paper, and your kids will probably be able to show you how to make a square out of an 8.5 by 11. You would fold it up and cut it. They're so used to doing that if you don't know how to do it, they can show you. A lot of times I will pre-cut on my cutter that the squares. So this works with copy paper, and if you wanted to be a little fancier, you could do like a tag board, which it gives you a little bit more rigidity. So you're going to take a square piece of paper, and you're going to fold it both ways. So fold it and fold it into a smaller square. And then you have them open it back up, and then you're going to cut one of the lines here. And what happens is you fold this in on itself, and it becomes a little room. So I have done this in the past with all different age groups, and they will decorate their room in so many creative ways. They look at this as their like almost a little dollhouse. But what we did with Lion of the Sky is we looked at the seasons. And so if you put 4 of those little rooms together, you can create a sculpture that they can decorate with the 4 different seasons. Be warned, this could be a very quick 30-minute activity, but kids will want to work on this adding and drawing for many, many classes. You can add in like little shells and different things, and they have little characters. My students like to work on these. I have to almost just say stop. So enjoyed that one.
Thank you, MC. And I forgot to say this at the beginning, but MC made a video tutorial for every activity for each book. So there are 10 videos in a playlist, and those are also linked on our website. So you can explore all 10 activities that MC came up with on YouTube. All right, take it away.
Okay, so there's and I just chose my top like 3 favorites. But like I loved Hummingbird, and the illustrations are just so beautiful. And I am very cost conscious when it comes to making projects, but there's times where you do want to spend some money, and this project actually lends itself to one of those times. So the hummingbirds are so small, and the illustrations are so vibrant and beautiful. There is a website that I use a lot, and it's called Blick Art Materials, and they sell stretched silk on a hoop, and I buy them in a bulk pack. And this is just the most lovely project, and it's already framed for you. You can see how transparent it is because you can see my hand through here. And what you can do is have images of hummingbirds and nature and leaves and all different things out on your tables, and the students can take their hoops around, and with a Sharpie pen, thin and medium point Sharpie, you can have them trace outlines. It's kind of like they're making a coloring book page. So I did that, and then I used some watercolor pens. So these are lovely because you can actually be in a space that is like a library and not have to worry so much about making a mess because the watercolor is contained. But you could also use watercolors easily. The watercolor bleeds and morphs around the silk and makes these lovely images around the silk, and you can just hang this up. What I tend to do is I tend to sew a little hoop on there, and then I hang them from the ceilings, and it's just fantastic. Now, one little helpful tip is if you do not want your watercolors to bleed around the silk, one thing I have started to do with kids is I use these fabric paints, and you can outline certain things. So some kids will not want their colors to bleed. I actually personally think it's really beautiful. So have fun with this one. If you're going to spend any money on a project, I would buy those silk hoops as a special something and do that project with Hummingbird.
Thank you, NC. The one you made is just fantastic. We can only hope to have one that good when we do it.
All the projects could be done.
Thank you so much for all of your work on this. And once again, all of NC's videos are linked on our website, so you can see her other ideas for the other books that we didn't have time to share today. So our next presentation is by Liz. And I am going to bring the PowerPoint up for 1 second here. So she's going to talk to us about writing prompts that she's come up with for this year's list and which she has come up with for many years' lists. So we thank her for that. So she's going to talk about first prompts with a research focus with Hummingbird and Sweetie.
I just wanted to say that this year I made 2 writing prompts for each book so that students had more options for what they were writing about. Sometimes I like to give them that. However, if some of these prompts might be going more closely with how you're teaching the nominees than others, so I leave it up to you as the educator to know the interests and needs of your students best about which writing prompts might work for them. So Hummingbird is one I used. The one that had animals that migrate is the writing prompt for one of the writing prompts for that one. And embedded in that, it looks at 2 websites and choosing to write about a migratory animal and research it on that in that writing prompt. And though it's not a writing prompt, I did in this Sweetie lesson and in the handbook, there is an activity where you can look at websites with naked mole rats. So I kind of added that in, even though it's not really a writing prompt, it's more a research activity that's in the handbook. The next slide is about social emotional themes in writing. If you want to pull that up, JJ. Awesome. So the first one is crab cake. There's a writing prompt about sharing a meal, and it talks about who the students have shared meals with, why this is an important bonding experience, and it could be a meal with family, friends, classmates. I was also realizing when we were doing the book talks that it could work for fry bread too, if you wanted to adapt it for that. Another one is It Began with a Page. And that one is about inspiration and comfort, because Fujikawa found inspiration in family and the experiences she had, and her drawings brought her comfort for when she was separated from her family while they were in an internment camp. So the idea behind that one is having students write about where they draw inspiration from and how their artwork can also comfort them. Then there was Sea Bear Patience, which is something Abby talked about in her book talk, and also the author did as well in her video, how the mother polar bear has to be patient and perseverance, and why patience is important, and when was the time the students had to be patient. Once again, Sweetie, shout out to one of my favorites. Both of these writing prompts really kind of have a social emotional theme. The first one, Embracing Your Inner Oddball, is talking about unusual hobbies the students have. How did they embrace their own differences? And then the second one, Finding Your Community, is about how your community embraces you and makes you feel comfortable. How did you find that community? So it might be like their dance group or things that they do with their friends or whatever that they feel is their community. And then the next slide, JJ.
Liz, let me interrupt you for 1 second. Just we keep using handbook, but that is also, it is also called the resource guide. So the resource guide and the handbook are the same thing. No, we've all been doing it. So the handbook and resource guide are same thing, and that's linked on our website, and so are Liz's writing prompts. So finally, some prompts within environmental justice focus.
Yes. So crab cake, again, helping the environment. There's a writing prompt that talks about how we can help clean up and protect the ocean, because that's a focus in the book. Sea Bear, once again, there's a focus, even though they never specifically refer to climate change, it talks about, it does in the writing prompt, and it says, how are polar bears and the other Arctic animals in the book affected by the thinning ice, and what can we as humans do? And then finally, the last set of prompts, if you want to show that slide quick, JJ, have a social justice focus.
Whoops, sorry, this is the last one. My bad.
It's all good. We do not want to forget these, because this was a lot of our books, actually. We as a committee were really looking for books that had a social justice focus and showcased diverse authors of different races and ethnicities and backgrounds. So one of the writing prompts I did on Fry Bread focuses on tradition and survival. It involves, for this one, I really think it involves close reading of the text and really, as the educator, looking at the author's notes in the back and really knowing them. So if you're going to do this prompt, really know the background and all the research that the author put into this book, and kind of weave that into the book if you're deciding to do that prompt. And then It Began with a Page. There's one looking at how the author changed publishing and how the experiences that she and her family had shaped how she illustrated babies, and how she really focused on diversity in a time when that wasn't in books, and how she even approached the publishers and were like, you will publish it this way. This is the way I've envisioned it, and really pushed for that and advocated for that. Then Planting Stories, I called it the Seeds of Cuentos. So looking at why sharing stories and folklore from her homeland was really important to Pura Belpré, and what is her literary legacy, not just the award named after her, but how she changed publishing as well. And then complete full circle, since I started with Undefeated, the 2 prompts for that, one of them looks at learning Black history and really focusing on who the students want to learn more about in the book and why this history is important. And then the other one is on perseverance and talking about some of the vocabulary in the book, why the ideas of undefeated and unforgotten and perseverance are central themes, and how can we further the really important messages of this book. And there are other prompts as well. I know I didn't go over every book, but these were the main ones that had like, where I was like, this is a central focus. I'm seeing this through several of the prompts. So enjoy them. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. And Liz mentioned this at the beginning, but there are some additional resources for the Undefeated in a Google Drive, which is linked on our website. And I'm actually going to pull up that page so you can see. Are you seeing the Red Clover page?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is the Red Clover page on our website. Everything that was emailed to you is also right here. You can find that Google Drive with more resources for the Undefeated here, and then all of Liz's writing prompts, those 2 YouTube playlists, the /handbook, honor list, and the PowerPoint from today too, and then of course all of the usual suspects, the master list, the bookmark, all of that sort of stuff. So that concludes our presentations. We made up some time, which is awesome. So we have about 15 minutes for questions. So we invite you to pick the committee's brain about their choices, whether it be this year's nominees or their honor books or anything that was presented today. You can stick it in the chat, and we will sort of field those for the committee, and they can pop on with cameras and mics as needed. So there's one question in the chat. When will you post the recording? If I don't get it today, it will definitely be out on Monday. It's sometimes the video takes a while to email itself to me, but it will be out very soon. Any questions, or if you have any ideas for any of the books, I wanted to say that the resource guide is, can be considered a living document. So if you have any ideas, let us know and post them in the Padlet. I just looked, I didn't see anything there, but feel free to post in the Padlet with any ideas you may have. Let's see. Okay.
Oh, and it looks like we shared some info about the silk hoops. $100 for a pack of 30.
Yeah, I figured people might be wondering about that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Those are beautiful.
Do any committee members want to have anything else they'd want to share? Otherwise, I might pull up the resource guide and just explain how that's broken down. But Liz, it looks like Liz has something to say. Please do.
Okay. I just wanted to say, so we worked with Vens on this week, and I didn't actually tell the committee members this yet, but because I got this idea this week. So they have these migratory bird games that you can play with cards, and I thought I'm going to look through those cards, and it might take a while, but I want to adapt them for sea bear and for hummingbird. And they're really fun because they can kind of follow along, and they didn't get different cards and risk cards. And I thought that would be really fun. So if anyone else works with Vens and knows what I'm talking about, that's something you could do. But I think like having some kind of migration game would be really fun for those 2 books.
And that's also something you could do outside before it gets before it gets too snowy and cold. Hannah, did you have something you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I did. So if we had had a normal conference, I was going to do a workshop with the art teacher here at Neshabie because we have been doing the Red Clover books with our older students, focusing on illustrations and techniques and styles and learning the principles of design through looking at picture book illustrations. And so I think it's a really cool way to approach it. And I'll send this to you, JJ. I should have done it already, but this is a sort of guide about the principles that my art teacher created. So we talk about color, whether it's light or dark, cold or hot, bright or dull, the types of lines that they can use, the types of shapes, and then the 3 principles that we focus on are emphasis, rhythm, and movement. And we really think about, as we're reading, we think about what the pictures bring to the story. And it's a really powerful way to look at books with older students who are cognitively ready to think about those types of things a little more. And I have found it to be a really fascinating way to get kids to approach books in a really different way.
Thank you so much. And yeah, just Hannah will send that to me, and I will put that up on the website with all of the other resources that I just showed you. So we can absolutely share that with you. There's also some general information about picture books in the resource guide towards the back. If you're just looking for general information about elements of a picture book and all that kind of stuff, but I love that guide. All right, Leaf.
I just wanted to mention that this week, some of my teachers here in school used a video of Kevin reading Fry Bread that we included in the handbook and the resource guide. And it's a wonderful video of him doing it. Most of them did it on Monday and Tuesday for Indigenous Peoples Day. And I had sent them an email with a link if they wanted to include it, and to let me know, of course, that they did. But it was a nice way to say, you know, yes, Indigenous people are still here today, and here's one reading, and here's his son, because he pops in a little bit too, I believe. So anyway, it was well received by a lot of our teachers here at school.
Thank you, Leaf. That's perfect for Indigenous Peoples Day. Awesome. Any other committee members have anything they'd like to share, or are there any questions, comments from our attendees? Give you about 15 seconds to think about something. Kara, go ahead.
We had a really powerful experience in Williston. Our schools in Champlain Valley School District raised the Black Lives Matter flags at each of our schools, and our principal at Allenbrook, we have a pre-K through 2 school, and she felt like she needed to make a speech on that particular day, and she wasn't quite sure what she should say or what needed to happen in that moment. And I said, I think perhaps here's a book, and let's let Kwame Alexander do that speaking for you. So I put The Undefeated in her hands, and having, you know, the artwork of Kadir and having Kwame's beautiful, purposeful, true voice be that moment for her felt absolutely perfect. And the children that gathered there came close because, you know, Vermont's a very white state, but to have everyone that was there, to have those kids gather close and see that and feel the power in that message from Black voices, Black artists, was really, really powerful. So I'm excited that that book has received so many honors, and really excited that it's on our list this year. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing that. First voices, so important.
That makes me think too, JJ, about the we've included some extra resources for the Undefeated, including a biography project that I've been doing for several years, associated with researching more about people from Black history, many of which are mentioned in that book. So that is included in the resources on the website too.
Yep, just you pop into that Google Drive. One really cool thing that I think Abby or Liz put together is a presentation with Kadir Nelson's New Yorker covers. So he has done some illustrating for them, and they are gorgeous, just like all of the books he's illustrated. So you can share those with your kids as well. They might not be ready to read the New Yorker, but they can certainly look at the cover. All right. We are definitely not opposed to ending a little bit early. So I'll give folks the last chance to ask a question or speak. Otherwise, I am going to let Jonathan close out, and I'm going to throw another slide up on the screen and talk about that briefly with sort of wrapping up sort of stuff. But Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the committee. I was actually going to see if we can have everybody, let's have the committee all pop on video, if you would.
Yes.
So we can see everybody in their red shirts. Jennifer too, come on. Yeah. I just want to thank everyone that's fantastic presentations on all these amazing books, despite the challenges of doing this virtually. And so I feel privileged to have been able to work with this group, and hope that you were able to look through the materials and really share these with your students, with kids, because these are really fantastic titles. And the resources, the videos, the art, the writing prompts, everything, that there's a lot of really fantastic resources that are in the resource guide, the handbook, whatever we're calling it. So please go to the, and again, a shout out to Jennifer for helping put all that together and helping really piece together everything for around the conference. And we thank you all, and thank you for joining us. And yeah, the video will be available. We will be working on getting that up, and then we will also be working on ordering books for those who filled out the form, so that you can get a book from the list. And it's going to probably take a while to get those ordered and send out to you, but we'll get going on that as soon as we can. And yes, please take a moment to complete the evaluation form. I know that's not exciting, but we would really appreciate it, just so we can hopefully improve and get your feedback on what we can do better in the future. And also there are the certificate of attendance request form. If you'd like one, you can request that as well. And I don't know, that's all I got.
Yeah, so I'll send out an email to everybody before I leave today. It will have the links to the evaluation form and a form for you to request a certificate of attendance. And I'll also include information about the bookstores again. And I'll link to this libraries.vermont.gov/redclover 2020 page, where you can find all the resources we talked about today. And that is also where the recording of the conference will be, probably on Monday. So I wouldn't expect it, today or over the weekend, but on Monday I should be able to get it up there. So that's where it will live as well. Thank you so much for coming today. And Jonathan, kudos to you for your first ever Red Clover conference. So exciting.
It is exciting.
One of my favorite conferences ever, of all time.
Yeah, it's awesome. There was one question, Jennifer, about if there are any openings. People are obviously excited about the committee. Someone was asking if there are any openings for the committee for next year.
I did see that question. I think that was Gail. Gail, I will email you. I can't remember. Most of the folks on the committee are in their 1.5 year, going on to second year. So I don't think there are going to be any openings next year, but don't Don't quote me on that. I will look and see, and we will get back to you. All right. Thank you so much for attending.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you to our committee, and everybody have a really safe and happy weekend. And if you do any of these activities with your kids, please share that with us. We love to see that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.